Now, this is another thing that I see a lot of people battle to understand. They think that if I have 10,000 rands worth of expenses that I can claim back from SARS, I'm going to get 10,000 rand from SARS because this is my expenses. And that's not how it works. So if you can just explain to the listeners, how do they calculate what you're going to get back from SARS?
If that's the way it worked, I would be every expense I can think of, I will try and squeeze in there. But no, unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. So if you've got an expense, the expense is deducted from the income to arrive at a taxable income.
That's okay.
Then you are taxed based on scales. It depends on how high that taxable income is, and a percentage of that is applied. So no, if you have 10,000 rands in expenses, you're not going to get 10,000 rands back in from SARS. You're going to get a proportion of tax back.
Yes.
In that, it depends on what tax bracket you fall on. It's sometimes that expenditure might even move your tax bracket lower. So that your taxable income is in a tax at a lower rate, so you get a higher refund if you do have a fixed salary or a constant payment of tax.
Yes. So if people want to do a quick calculation in their minds, it's basically what your total expenditure is that are approved to claim back, multiplied by the average tax rate that you are paying. So if you're claiming back 20,000 rand and your average tax rate is 20%, I'm not saying it is 20%, it just makes my maths easier, you'll get back about 4,000 rand as a refund from SARS. But the important, and you said it earlier, but I just want to reiterate it again while we're at this point, is that, guys, please remember, you can't claim from SARS what you haven't paid.
That's
you can't
correct.
pay them, let's say your salary, you only pay 30,000 rand tax for the year. And now with your business expenses and everything, you have a 50,000 rand claim. SARS is not going to give you the balance of 20,000 rand as an EFT into your account. You can only claim what you've actually paid towards SARS.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that. I've got a client, she is a sole proprietor, so she's got one source of income. And every year she's making a loss. And she's like, okay, but I'm making a loss, why submit? I'm like, because SARS accumulates those losses. So by the time you do make a profit, you can offset that accumulated aggregate losses. You can offset that income against it. So you'll make profits for the next 5 years and offset it against previous losses and not pay tax on it.
That's sometimes what these big corporations and companies do. When a company goes bankrupt, they buy the company from the owners, because that company has a tax loss, and that tax loss is actually an asset, and they then use that asset to write off tax in the future. So people don't think that if you have a loss you shouldn't submit your tax returns, because that is an asset in your company, because that tax loss gets carried over to the next year and the next year.